Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Time for Ozicar Tin Top Cup. It's round 3 from Circuito de Navarra in Spain. Los Arcos, Navarra, Spain. What an exciting GT4 championship this is proving to be. We head on to our third round. Qualifying's a difficult format. David Haynes here with Scott Rankin and Daniel Yeaman in the production. Get ready to go racing for a double race format. So Spain's definitely down to the bottom left there. I know my European geography that well. Scott Rankin, what do you know about Navarra?
Well, Navarra was this lovely little small nation that sat for a very, very long period in between Castile, what become modern-day Spain, and France. It was trapped a little bit in the middle. It was protected by Spain for a long period of time. Now it's part of Spain proper, as Spanish reclaimed it a long, long time ago. It is a beautiful place in terms of Spain. Different section. Last week we were talking about Jerez down the southwest, wine-loving region. This up towards the north still sits out and quite close to the beaches, and you're actually going to see a lot of sand here from Navarra as well.
A new facility too, owned by Motorsport Ventures, who own a lot of the UK tracks, like Donington and Snetterton and Brands Hatch and others. This is the classes of cars, so Aston Martin, both BMWs, Mercedes-AMG, the McLaren, the Porsche Cayman, and drivers can swap cars at any time during the season. Qualifying is just wrapped up, and it was just one lap. They're now going to be gridding for race 1, 11 laps, and then race 2 is based off the results from race 1. It's also 11 laps, 11-lap Navarra sprints in GT4. The championship, you couldn't script it. Well, you could try. Jamie Stovall, 199 points. Adrian Duke, 198 points. Brodie Shepherd, 197 points. It couldn't be closer without busting out the SI units and going to milli points, micro points, nano points, something like that. Tony Baker, Tim Harris, Trevor Hearn, Gavin Barber, Brent Wassell, Michael Cullen, and Milton Borton completing an incredibly close top 10.
My favourite fact there, Dave, is that you actually went through and you're like, oh, I want to go to the milli points, but you also said the standard, the units, what do they call it? The scientific bureau that manages all the units as well. So you're even saying, hey, if we're going to get milli points right, we are taking the standard, the international standard for milli points as well. Righto, racing grid and how they qualified out. Adrian Duke managed to grab the pole position in the McLaren powered by Coffee entry. That car was actually out on the weekend as well. And there was the car 6 hour. Brodie Shepherd will line up alongside of him. 2 McLarens on the front row. It's going to be another McLaren on row number 2. Timothy Harris manages to grab 3rd spot in terms of the timing here. Tony Baker will be the first of the Mercs who'll line up alongside of him. Row number 3 is going to be that of Jamie Stovall, championship leader. First of the Porsches. Here he is. Dan Bartush, another McLaren alongside of him. McLaren seeming to dominate here tonight in terms of the pace. What about row number 4? It's going to be Trevor Hearn alongside of Benjamin Wheeler. Gee whiz, the McLarens. There's a lot of them, and what a pretty race car, to be honest. So, you know what? I don't mind it too much. 9th and 10th, that is going to be Michael Holdcroft and Michael Cullen.
Then we continue. Warren Henry and Milton Borton are 11th and 12th on the grid. And then we have Ira Felberg and Elliot D. And of course, with just one lap in qualifying, very easy to not set a qualifying time. John Snell has set one, 13 seconds off the pace, so I don't know if he had an issue on his lap. And Nathan Verney and Dan Stevens didn't set one. If you run wide out of any corner on your one qualifying lap, then you're not going to have a qualifying time, and you're going to be right towards the tail of the grid. Here is the track. I like the way that they're doing the art for the most recent releases of iRacing circuits. Cadwell Park and some others have that thing where they've done the aerial drone scanning and created some very, very good-looking circuit surrounds. I think the Refresh of Zandvoort has the same. This is our drivers on Zoom.
Yeah, Dan Stevens, Michael Cullen, and John Snell providing the shots. Important you noted as well from qualifying that it was actually only the one valid lap time, which means that all of these drivers had to set a lap time on cold tyres, which I think is really interesting.
So looking at the part of the track that they're actually going to redevelop now that iRacing have laser scanned it. A thing that seems to happen a little too often and is known as the iRacing curse. There are many examples of it happening, like iRacing laser scanning Charlotte Roval, and then for the very next year, NASCAR saying, actually, we're going to change the back straight bus stop chicanes profile, and then iRacing have to go and redo it. It seems to happen just a little too often. The sun is out on the track. It's 37 degrees Celsius for a track temperature with 20 in the air, so it's a nice day. And what we've seen consistently from these races is the McLaren are a good car for qualifying. They're a good car for a first couple of laps, and then some of the other models begin to find a bit more race pace, perhaps treat their front tyres more nicely. You see a lot of McLarens up front here in qualifying, but does not mean that's what it'll look like at the end of the race.
Yeah, so it'll be important to not only get yourself rolling, but then settle into your stint. And I think the McLaren guys, one of the biggest things they can do is try and preserve those front tyres early. Bring them in maybe just a touch slower, which would be good for their race pace. Long pacing lap here as well. The biggest thing I'm actually noticing from this pacing lap is a very, very dirty, dusty track surface. A lot of dust about, but a lot of marbles as well. So pace car is in. Field is in the hands of our pole setter, Adrian Duke.
A long pit entry lane here that skips out sort of two corners before the start finish straight. So there goes the pace car, and then the field need to negotiate the final sharp corner, face onto the front straight, look for the green flag. Oh, it's waving at 2 frames per second there for some reason, but we get underway for race 1 of 2. Oh, suddenly it animates better. We're going. Adrian Duke and Brodie Shepherd are level, heading down towards turn 1. Duke with the inside line. There's heaps of space around the outside, but it keeps tightening with triple right-handers to open up the lap.
Oh, a touch. Just the tiniest little bit of contacts there, Dave, and a wiggle as well from Timothy Harris, but it was contact between Adrian Duke and Brodie Shepherd. Just a door-to-door battle, though. Nothing in it. Oh, boy.
Tony Baker's spun around the cold tyres. He rolls backwards. Don't do that. No good. Baker's going to go back to 16th place with Adrian Duke leading as Brodie Shepherd in second. Now Warren Henry's been around in his McLaren, so he's testing out a little bit too much of the runoff around here as well.
And it seems like
Bartush.
Nobody wants to be in third, and I think we've lost Dan Bartush now. He's gone around in that McLaren, so a lot of work to do.
Just then the corner later, the cold tyres, they're pushing so hard, but these GT4 cars, they come with a relatively hard compound tyre. A GT4 doesn't have the aerodynamics and is a little heavier and just doesn't quite work the tyres to up into temperature as quickly as a GT3 car can. And a few of them are struggling with the curbs. Benjamin Wheeler's going to go for a full 360 and carry on. It was impressive, actually.
Tell you what, we're going to need a replay of that to go for a 360 and then keep carrying on. The big question is who's managed to survive lap 1. Trevor Hearn started 6th, it's 3rd at the moment. Michael Holdcroft 8th to 4th, so he's done quite well for himself. And then have a look at the BMWs who were right down the back end of the field. They're cutting their way through. Warren Henry's gone from 10th back to 13. Tony Baker was, I believe, 4th? He's now all the way back to dead last at 16th.
As a new track, I believe this is also one of the circuits that has iRacing's 3D curbs, and of course it's well known from all sorts of motorsports that high curbs and cold tyres don't mix very well.
Yeah, difficulty, and there's another one that's gone around again. So it's the McLarens losing their stability at the moment. Ira Felberg's gone a lot of places back. He now sits 15th in the running order. I think this is going to be a little bit of a last to first challenge for a couple of these McLarens now. It'll be really interesting, actually. The difficulty we've got, Michael Holdcroft's actually the first non-McLaren car, sits fourth in the Aston Martin. So if he can hang on to his tyres, what is he capable of out of that one?
Yeah, you've seen a few of the other Aston Martins also struggle for rear grip in the traction zones as well. On board with Holdcroft right now. Seems to gain a lot in the braking. Needs to be careful applying the power. Look at the McLaren in front. Trevor Hearn using way more of the exit curb, and it opens up the corner, but it opens you up to some strife potentially as well.
Hearing there's been more drama and towards the tail end of the field. No, never mind. Everyone's okay.
Pass is happening at the end of that back straight because as a brand new circuit, there's a few very Herman Tilke looking corners around here.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you for saying this is a very Herman Tilke designed-esque track, although it's a little bit low speed for a Tilke. But that 1, 2, 3 complexes, that's super challenging, isn't it? We'll get an opportunity to probably go for a ride down through it here in a few moments, as Tony Baker's going to go for a crack at Warren Henry at the final corner. Forced to back out of that one. Fastest lap of the race, Adrian Duke on lap number 2, as the tyres start to come up to temperature.
So Ben Wheeler and Dan Stevens, who are side by side heading down the front straight here. So Stevens, I think, is affecting a pass here. So turn 1, absolutely flat out, no worries. Turn 2, I think they're slowing a little bit for. And then turn 3, super tight, big braking zone. So each successive apex there, you need to slow it up a little bit more. This group led by Stevens for the moment.
Righto, finally they're going to start to settle them down into a little bit of semblance of regular racing order. I can tell you Timothy Harris is doing his best to get down the inside of Ben Wheeler at the moment as those two go side by side, lean on each other just a touch. And Wheeler manages to hang on to the spot. Stevens still controlling the pace of this little group. 6th spot for the moment. They'll try and sort themselves out. 11 laps for both of the races here tonight. And the difficulty is going to be for those drivers who lost a lot of ground on race 1. How do they make it back up in race 2? If they can, because the field's already started to split. Well, first, second, third. Adrian Duke's got about 1.5, 1.7, 2 seconds, somewhere in that realm, over Brodie Shepherd, and then Trevor Hearn's about 5 seconds further back, so...
So a couple of replays from lap 1 where it was sorts of chaotic, but my favourite moment, this is Ben Wheeler, I believe, fighting with Michael Cullen. And so we'll get a bit of a moment, get the grasp. Oh, he hit the wall 360 and has continued.
That's
wow.
Phenomenal. How's he done that? Yeah, wow. So he's managed to hang on to that one and now get out the other side. And for these guys that are still managing to try and hold on, Timothy Harris has finally got through on Ben Wheeler. It's lost a few inches at the front. That's the shortened body.
They make McLaren long tails. I didn't know they make McLaren short noses.
Oh boy. We're in for a long night. The jokes are rolling out early. But closing up at the moment is Nathan Verney on Dan Bartush's 95 entry ahead of him. Verney's up 5 spots at the moment, failed to set a qualifying lap. So he's had to come from the rear already with all the chaos on lap 1. This hasn't worked out too bad for him.
Definitely think of the Porsche as maybe one of the cars that is going to be more challenging on cold tyres for stability. But now we get going and it's a decent enough platform as it goes. So he's in 12th, just behind Snell and Bartush, having a little look at each other there.
Just all line of stern at the moment, aren't they? Not really able to do all that much. Good little bit of a look at the manufacturers here, because you've got Porsche for Verney, McLaren for the 95 Dan Bartush and John Snell's on board the Aston. So you're going to get a really, really good opportunity to sort of have a look at the three different manufacturers and the way they drive. I believe the McLaren's actually the fastest car in a straight line, and Snell makes a mistake in the last corner.
So we'll have another drag race down the front straight and test out your theory about that. Vernie's going to try to follow the toe best he can. On board, turns 1, 2, and 3 could be interesting here. So 1, absolutely flat out. 2, seems like you got to brake a little bit in these cars. Oh, particularly if the car in front of you checks up. But then 3 is super tight, second gear.
Very challenging little first sector, technicalities on it. And then this one down here as well. You tip the car in, you sort of want to flow it wide. You've got to carry speed, but you've also got to start backing off and braking, get back to the apex here, and then it's late apex, but you want to use the curbing on the right as well to open up the next corner. It's very challenging first sector. Actually, a ton of fun on a Formula Ford. I love driving Formula Fords around here.
Vernie's also got to look in his mirrors. He gets a good run here. Tony Baker's Mercedes is just behind him as well. So going in the straight line here, the naturally aspirated Cayman revs up. It's got plenty of revs to it. I like that about it. It's surrounded by a lot of turbocharged cars in class, and it's kind of the way that the GT stuff is going.
Yeah, a lot more power. A smaller capacity, and smaller capacity means less weight. And if you're creating a lot of energy from engines, well, anywhere you can trim back on the weight's generally the way to go, isn't it? Vernie's continuing to try and work over Snell. Not quite able to make anything from it at the moment. Tony Baker's actually coming at him as well, is the problem in behind. And Baker is going to have a dive at him at the final corner. Gets there, gets alongside, and they all get out the other side. Wide. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
What you got to do, so approaching the halfway point of race 1, you get to do all the cold tyre stuff again in race 2, which will be interesting. But it's why you don't want to go and throw away your result right here in race 1. It'll also set the grid for race number 2. Gene Duke with 2.7 seconds over Brodie Shepherd. It is those McLarens in a 1, 2, 3 with Trevor Hearn in 3rd. Oldcroft in 4th in the Aston Martin. Plenty of mid-pack battling, particularly with those sort of a couple of drivers with poor qualifying results or no qualifying time at all. We know that Nathan Vernie and Daniel Stevens are quality enough drivers, but they start at the very, very tail of the grid and have some work to do. Henry trying to do a bit of work here, but it's Tony Baker, I think, looking most aggressive at the moment as he's trying to work out how he's going to get past John Snell.
Starting to close in with that Merc as well, isn't it?
Baker qualified 4th and was one of the drivers with a lap 1 spin. He was not alone in that at all, but it's given him also work to do.
Yeah, a lot of work to do as well. And the problem is not a lot of time to do it in either. And you sort of got to catch up, figure out where we can get past just about immediately. So, and he's going to be presented. Snell makes a touch of a mistake, but he's able to carry momentum. Baker's going to look to cross him over. And back up at the front. At the moment, we watched Cullen, Stevens and Harris going at it. Still hasn't forced his way by, but it was the last lap at the final corner when Baker presented with the opportunity on Vernie. And now he's going to try and crisscross him, and deep for Snell. Presents the perfect opportunity. Job done for Tony Baker. And Vernie's going to try and line him up and have a crack as well. Just cannot get the drive off the corner.
It's a lap before he dives to the inside of the final corner. And that's what John Snell is expecting, and sort of psyched himself out, ran wide, braking too deep into the corner, and then Tony Baker just crossed him over and made a perfect move to get up into 11th. Bit Noah's Ark here, except it's only one of each kind in this battle.
Just keeping an eye on Cullen, Harris and Stevens at the moment. There's nothing really able to challenge at the moment. Can have a quick look at the onboard shot on board from Dan Stevens.
I like the shift indicator.
Yeah. Just thinking the same thing. I just want to sit here and watch this. Got the opportunity to drive somebody else's rig this week, and a lot of different things I looked at and went, yeah, what have you picked up there, Dave?
Right. been working on your own rig at all. He's got ABS sensors, I think. So when he's under brakes, there's red markers that go up. So it's either a brake pressure trace or it's an ABS type warning. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking it's actually just going to be a repeater of his own brake inputs, so he can know and maybe repeatably apply the same brake pressure and brake trace.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't think it's an ABS. I think the top half of that display is an ABS indicator, or a traction control / ABS.
BMW M2 CS Racing, that's new to iRacing, has an ABS light in the dash that comes on at the appropriate times. The drag race here, where Tim Harris goes past Michael Cullen, I think, and Daniel Stevens not too far behind them. There's another one with Dan Bartush on the road as well. Bit of contact at turn 2, a lot of contact at turn 2. Benjamin Wheeler, this time it's only a 180.
Yeah, they're both unfortunately going to be sat around backwards waiting, and there goes the BMW around the outside. So just had to patiently sit there and wait because that section is so loaded. And Ben Wheeler is going to have that one requested to be looked at post-race, which RC will oblige on doing and review before next week.
Clever to just park in Milton Borton until the traffic cleared. He's like, I'm not letting you get away with this one until I can spin it around. And then Verning... Then Wheeler had to cut turn 3 and it gave him a slowdown that it took him a second to clear. So they were battling towards turn 2 like this. I think Borton's tried to cross over in 2 to get to the inside of 3, but he has crossed his nose all the way across the tail, the GT4 of Wheeler.
That was cheeky, wasn't it? He did just box him in. Oh, and he tried to sneak through. I wonder whether or not netcode might have intervened there, actually.
He's like, no.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You've turned me. There's been rotation happen. You can just wait.
He's shoving his nose into the queue. He's like, I'm getting out of this Westfield car park before you. Sometime, hopefully, before Christmas.
You're right. It does remind me of a little bit of Sydney traffic, doesn't it? No, I'm going first. No, I'm going first. Well, we're both stuck here until one of us goes first. And eventually, his car was just in the way. Duke still got the lead, by the way, by 2.9 seconds at the moment. Trevor Hearn sits nearly 10 seconds further back. So he's comfortably in third. So I think, barring disaster, the top 2 are certainly decided. Trevor Hearn's slowly being tracked down by Michael Holdcroft. He's actually doing a phenomenal job in the Aston. Second away, he took about 1.5 seconds out in the last lap with 3 or 2.5 laps left from here. There is every opportunity that he might go up there and pick off Michael Holdcroft.
Different cars tend to come strong later on in the races, and it's about the tyre warm-up, it's about the tyre wear, etc. And that's the pace that Holdcroft has got right now. So that's 3 consecutive really strong laps for him. More rotation for the Aston Martin, and starting to see the McLaren struggle with their front tyres again. 2 corners in a row. Trevor Hearn runs a little bit wide across a bit of curbing and now has to defend the final corner. Holdcroft, plenty of rotation again, opens up the power from the Aston Martin's 4-litre turbocharged V8. And he's keeping the pressure on for a podium.
That engine as well, that's, the GT3 variant comes in both the 8 and the 10 spec, doesn't it? So she's a very pretty car to listen to. I've always been a fan of the Aston. But for the moment, what's the lap time's going to look like? 48.080. Ford plays a 47.249. So 3/4 of a second for Michael Holdcroft. But again, look at the poke that McLaren has in a straight line, but the braking stability of the Aston is just phenomenal. You can just get back to the apex so much better at turn 3.
The slow speed stuff, the Aston seems to be rotating a little bit better, and the McLaren's beginning to struggle with the fronts a little bit. So here is Warren Henry in the McLaren, and he also runs a fair bit wide, finds all sorts of marbles in his battle with John Snell.
We've lost Jamie. I think we've lost Jamie Stovall, unfortunately. So So, unfortunately for Jamie Stovall, hasn't set a racing lap either. So, look, do you count that as a lap 1 spin as well? It's just a lap 1 spin of his computer?
Lap 1, the hamster stopped spinning.
That it did. That it did. So, unfortunately for Jamie Stovall, yeah, it's going to look like no points, unfortunately, for him in race 1 of the night.
Henry versus Snell, and Henry, but then came back. About to start the final lap of race 1. Whoa, this is a battle. That's a cut corner, I reckon, from the driver on the inside. He's got away with it. How has Holdcroft got away with that in his battle with Trevor Hearn? Tim Harris has got a whole lot closer. They're about to cross the start-finish line and see the white flag. There it is. Yeah, Barney's giving it a good old waggle in the sun.
Covers him off at turn 1, a little bit narrow at turn 2, and there's Timothy Harris at turn 3. So now he's got to be careful. Tries to rotate the car, get back to the power. He's going to use all 3 of them, going to use all the runoff available down at turn 3. That'll narrow up a touch at turn 4, but Hearn is doing more than enough at the moment to hang on to 3rd spot. The problem will be, is there going to be an opportunity for Michael Holdcroft? And Timothy Harris is thinking about having a go at him as well. Bounces over the curb when they get down to 6.
Oh, he's moved to 4th, so Holdcroft suddenly got to be on the back foot. He had an opportunity and a bit of time to try to pass Trevor Hearn. Didn't get it done in time. Now Tim Harris has caught him and put him back into 5th. McLaren versus McLaren for the final spot on the podium. Looking like it's going to be a McLaren top 3 lockout. Oh, so deep on the brakes. An absolute dive bomb from Tim Harris to get down the inside, but he made the apex and he made the turn, so he's just got so much more confidence in braking his car. But here's the response, here's the retaliation. Holdcroft is going to try to over-under the both of them to get himself on the podium. Adrian Duke and Brodie Shepherd, 1st and 2nd, out front, sailing towards the checkered flag. But who will be 3rd? They'll be 3 wide right now for 3rd place. Holdcroft going over-under again, across the curb, and now sending Tim Harris into the grass and the gravel.
Yeah, and Harris has pinched a fraction as they get to the final corner. Now they're going to try and get to the final corner. Last of the late breakers, and Dan Stevens comes from nowhere. Can't get the car pulled up and rotated. He'll slide back to 6, but boy, he had a go at it. Hearn will hang on to the spot. He threw everything he had at both of them. He took them deep, ran them wide. And that's defense of the final lap. How about the battle deeper down for 7th, 8th, and 9th? And it's going to be Tony Baker, I think, who crosses the line 9th out of those 3. It'll be Bartosz from Cullen from Tony Baker, 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Just got Ben Wheeler, Milton Borton, and Ira Felberg to take the checkered flag. Ira Felberg was the last in 16th. Decent racing, but everyone is going to have learned a lot for race 2, particularly around what we saw with sort of lap 1, the cold tyres, the tyre warm-up, and other things around here. Let's look at the results of race 1 for Ozicar Tin Top GT4s at Navarra. Adrian Duke. Adrian Duke, the winner from Brodie Shepherd, and then that battle for 3rd place was so spicy on the final lap. I thought Trevor Hearn was cooked for all rights. Tim Harris and Michael Holdcroft were both looking quicker than him, but they collided and went off the road, cost themselves a bit of time. Dan Stevens nearly swallowed up the both of them in 6th place as the best AMG. Give him the theme song to Bondi Rescue because he's the thirsty Merc. And Dan Bartosz, Michael Cullen, Tony Baker, and Nathan Verney complete that top 10, Scott.
Outside the 10, Warren Henry from John Snell was on the slide. Elliot D down to 13th spot. Ben Wheeler, Milton Borton, Ira Felberg, the last car home. And of course, Jamie Stovall with the issues. Hasn't rejoined the server either, unfortunately. So that might be the last we see of him tonight.
Good racing. And then the drivers have a little break before they go to another 11-lap race here at Navarra that should be just as exciting and action-packed. Stay with us on SimSpeed TV. Back in a moment with race 2 of Ozicar Tin Top Cup GT4.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back at Navarra for Ozicar Tin Top Cup in GT4s this season. Race 1. Boy, I really liked it, but can everyone keep their nose ahead of their tail on lap 1 for race 2? The grid will again be sort of the finishing order of race 1. So I'm going to sort of do a comparison here. Qualifying versus race 1 results. So I think we're not going to see any at all of Jamie Stovall, unfortunately, after he qualified 5th. Ben Wheeler qualified 8th but finished 14th. But the winners are drivers like Michael Holdcroft, who qualified 9th but then finished race 1 in 4th, and Daniel Stevens, who went from 17th to 6th. Daniel Stevens, who nearly went from 17th to the podium. And these are the choices of car. I don't think we saw any of the old BMW, and I think it's just Milton Borton in the new BMW Scott Rankin.
I thought it was 2 BMWs, so they were both. You're right, it was Borton, and the other was Elliott D. Yeah, is the second one of those. So 2 of the BMWs, but yeah, that McLaren, she's certainly the popular child amongst it, and she's been quick here tonight, particularly in the hands of Adrian Duke yet again. Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of a difficult one, I think, in this next race. I think a few more people are going to be a little bit more circumspect, but this was the championship points after round 2. So this was prior to tonight. Stovall misses out on points, so he's going to lose out. Adrian Drake and Brodie Shepherd finished exactly as they are on those standing showers, so they're going to move through to 1st and 2nd at the moment. Tony Baker's going to slide a little bit because he finished 9th after qualifying 4th, but the problem is, did Timothy Harris beat him by enough points? It's going to be very, very tight between those two. Trevor Hearn, though, finished on top out of a lot of them. He could move to 3rd in the championship. Great opportunity for him.
Yeah, it'd be so interesting, and it's so tight there after the first 2 rounds. We've had some longer races. We've got some sort of shorter sprint format rounds like tonight with 2 races. Which car is favoured can depend a little bit, not just on the racetrack, but on the format. We definitely saw things like the Mercedes start to come strong later on. This is the series schedule. Started at Aragon, Jerez 2 weeks ago, now Navarra, and then we have Barcelona, Lebanon, and Ossersleben still to come. Let's get to the grid of race 2, Scott.
Yeah, that we will. Adrian Duke finished race 1 on pole in first position. He'll line up with the pole once again. Brodie Shepherd will line up to his outside. Timothy Harris and Tony Baker are going to be on row number 2. Don't forget, we've got a full formation lap to come our way as well from Navarra Speed Circuit. Out of 5th and 6th spot. Oh, sorry, my apologies. Did I rattle them off incorrectly? I did. It's Trevor Hearn from Michael Holdcroft. My gridding order, for some reason, was out of whack. Timothy Harris is actually going to be out of 5th spot. Dan Stevens will be in behind him in 6th on row number 3. Tim Bartush and Michael Cullen, 7th and 8th. Tony Baker and Nathan Verney are going to round out your 10, Dave.
Yes, they are. Then in 11th will be Warren Henry alongside John Snell. Then Elliot D is going to be best BMW there in 13th. Wheeler back in 14th. Showed us more pace than that, but the collision between himself and Milton Borton puts them both back 14th and 15th on the grid here after they had to let an incredible amount of traffic go before they could get out of the car park. And Ira Felberg finished 16th. So you get a full formation lap here at Navarra, and I'm watching. What can you do to build tyre temperature on this formation lap? Do the tyres hold it to the green flag? And what's the best way to go about this?
I've actually done a fair bit of testing, and it's actually brake dragging does the most tyre temp building. Weaving maintains okay, but it will lose a fraction. The other problem is the amount of marbles are actually off the line. But yeah, it was brake dragging that maintained the most tyre temperature conveniently as well. Brake dragging burns a little bit of fuel. So
I've been watching Cullen. So I think Cullen in the black and yellow McLaren there is sort of accelerating, braking a little bit. He's doing that to try to build a bit of brake temperature around.
And conveniently as well, yeah, not just tyre temperature, but also brake temperature, which is a big part. I love that. I always refer to it as the bicycle brakes because they sound like bicycle brakes when they're cold, don't they?
It's the difference between road car brakes and race car brakes. You don't care if your race car brakes squeak so long as they're reliable and functional, and when you stand on the brake pedal after 90 minutes of racing, they still work. We're not far away around on this formation lap. It's not a massive track, but it fits a lot of action in. Pace car speed around here is also 80 kilometers an hour, which is faster than some others where iRacing make the pace car crawl.
I think one of the big things as well is have a look at the difference. It was quite cloudy in race one, wasn't it? The sun's out, and the track temps come up a fair way, so the grip level's going to be massively different in race number 2.
I hate to pull back the curtain too far. It was very sunny in race 1, and then cloudy in the B-roll, and then sunny in race 2.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh. You've done me dirty. You've done me... Oh. Boo. Boo.
I mean, it was cloudy on media day yesterday, so Adrian Duke will lead us first out of the final corner. Barney's got the green flag in his hand, but he's not waving it just yet. Another 11 laps to go to clean this round out, and Brodie Shepherd is going to restart as close to him as he possibly can. They're banging McLaren fenders and mirrors, and the green flag run down towards sweeping turn 1, medium speed turn 2, and tight turn 3. Tyres will be cold for everyone, and they'll have learnt from race 1 to be cautious, but they'll have learnt bad habits towards the end of race 1, and there's going to be a three-way fight for the lead, bouncing across the curb. They collide.
And it's Trevor Hearn that's managed to pick both of their pockets down at turn 1. He got down the inside, a little bit of contact with Shepherd. Shepherd ran a touch wider, and he made contact with Duke. Now Duke is on the back foot here in race number 2. Hearn leads the way. Timothy Harris is going to try and fight back as he ran wide. Now he's out in the marbles yet again. Can Harris find the drive? Hearn hangs on to it.
Very willing on lap 1. Once again, three-way battle for the lead, kicking off just here with Brodie Shepherd having dropped a little bit, but now right back into it. Harris is looking for the race lead. He'll be down the inside on the back straight here. Big braking zone at the end of this straight.
Remember last time that Trevor Hearn and Timothy Harris went toe-to-toe through this section of the racetrack? Both of them nearly skated it off, and Hearn dived it deep on that occasion. This time, Timothy Harris is able to get enough grip and grab the spot. Shepherd now will be forced to watch and look for his opportunity. And that McLaren at Hearn, not happy on cold tyres. You mentioned it, Dave. Cold tyres and curbs, that seems to be where he's having the most problems.
So Wheeler, most positions gained on the laps so far. Remember that he was right down the tail of the field. A few of them went off. He picked the right way to cut through, and he's gained 6 positions into 8. There's a battle on behind him with his teammate, Adrian Duke, trying to pass Nathan Burney. It's 1 lap completed now with a fair dose of chaos, but slightly less than race 1.
Yep, maybe 10 more laps left to run. And Navarra Speed Circuit 3.93 kilometres in length means we've got ourselves 39 Ks to go, and Brody Shepherd just made contact with Trevor Hearn as they got to the apex of turn 3. He just about got the car parked up. Now Hearn's going to be a touch tight as they get out here. Well, looks to be redressed, looks to be okay. Now we're going to try and fill that mirror as Trevor is attempting again. He's got a very, very wide 81 McLaren, and Brody Shepherd has been tasked with the job of finding a way past it.
As you're on board, top 6 looks like a very spicy little battle. You've got 2 very quick Mercedes at the back of this, Tony Baker and Stevens as well, so they might just begin to factor in. It definitely seemed like the other models of car had a bit more strength toward the tail end of the race, but just a bit too twitchy. The McLaren's a little more planted. Still difficult, but a little more planted on the cold tyres.
Big key from this one is that just about everyone survived lap 1 this time. Only Ira Felberg fell off the back end of... Sorry, my apologies. Milton Borton's had an issue on this lap, and he's fallen off the back end of the pack. But for the meantime, Holdcroft started this race 4th. He's fallen back to 11th, and he'll have to cut his way back through the field. Tony Baker started 9th. He's up to 5th spot. And Adrian Duke, after leading us to the green, now sits 7th on the road.
Hey, I saw a picture on the weekend. Do you know who's also a big fan of driving this McLaren GT4?
I'm not 100%.
It's Harrison Kennedy.
Jay Kennedy's son. Yeah, you're right. And here we go. It's on for P2. Hearn's going to be on the inside as we head down to turn 5, forcing Brody Shepherd to try and go the long way around. If he can hang all the way around the outside, it will become his, but he's going to try and force him away. Cut his knob, and the Mercs are going to tangle and rotate each other as well.
Hamilton, Rosberg, is that you? The Mercedes tangle, and they're going to drop all the way to the back. Then they tangle again, trying to get going. Oh no.
Nearly repeated that incident from turn 1. No, I'm going to block you in. You can't go anywhere because I can't go anywhere.
Well, it tells him he's got a car overlap, so maybe he should have been aware of that a little bit earlier as well. It's pointing that there's a car right.
Unfortunately, contact made and rotated. I'm sure we'll get an opportunity to have a look back at that one when we get a second. But now that battle pack, the second and the 4 cars it contains, all McLarens inside the top 5 now. In fact, all McLarens inside the top 7, by the way.
On front straight again. Lap 4 now, so 3 laps completed. Tim Harris is obviously finding more grip out front where he leads by 4 seconds. He sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:46.1. Trevor Hearn in second. Still coming under some pressure from these guys like Brody Shepherd and Dan Bartush, and hasn't set a clean lap of the race yet. So he doesn't have, he couldn't set the fastest lap of the race. Need to keep it on track. The next fastest, it's actually Adrian Duke, so we're on board with him. He's going to need to show a little bit of patience here, I think, because in front of him, it's still sort of playing out where I feel like Shepherd might be a little bit quicker than Hearn and struggling to pass.
That's the problem, isn't it? He's just going to crawl up, see if there's an opportunity. Otherwise, it's just going to be line up, wait for the opportunity to have a crack at Hearn.
Did you know that the odometer in the dash of the McLaren GT4 works? If you race 30 kilometres, it indicates 30 more than at the start of the race.
No, I didn't know that. Well, I do know about that McLaren. That was, bog standard pretty much just rolled out of the factory, so I'm not surprised that that does work.
It is probably one of the GT4's most close... Oh, contact! Holdcroft's going to go around. Who got into him? The Porsche of Snell? Nathan Verney. He's addressing that.
So we have to have a look at some of the stuff that's gone on thus far from this race, because there's a fair bit of it. Again, we saw a bunch of cars in lap 1 previous ones. This is Holdcroft and Verney. And Verney has unfortunately missed his braking marker and just gone straight in the back of the Aston. He'll wait up on the side of the road for Holdcroft.
This is going to be the Mercedes thing, so... Ooh.
There was a gap there, but I think that's one of the occasions where Ayrton Senna will have said that's probably not a gap he should have gone for, and then the bump afterwards is little added content.
Yeah, if you look on board with any of the other GT4 models, there's roll bar cages and bars going everywhere, but less so for the McLaren, where the cockpit is carbon fibre and already tested to a standard. It's basically a carbon fibre monocoque road car, so you don't need to do as much making it into a race car. Brodie Shepherd through into second, something he struggled to do at the end of race 1, something he struggled to do for about half here of race 2. Now he goes by.
Finally presented with an opportunity and able to pick that one off. Adrian Duke's he's harassing Dan Bartusch at every available opportunity, but it's just nothing that he can slam the door closed on, unfortunately, yet. And Bartusch is actually doing a great job at getting off these corners really, really well.
So peak speeds looking like about 225 kilometres an hour at the end of turn 1 here. Doing about 220 right now, Brodie Shepherd, and then needs to whoa up a little bit of the speed to get through turn 2 there, and then whoa up a lot of speed for tight turn 3.
It's through the middle of the corner, just watching Adrian where he's making the most advantages through the middle of the corner. And the problem that he's having is catching Bartusch at sort of a rate of knots. So he's actually having to wait for Bartusch to get on the gas before he can do so. So he's really, really strong on a brake. So you can just see, look how close he gets, and he's just waiting. Bartusch gets on the throttle. He's reacting to that instead of driving his line, which is what's preventing him. Oh, that's out and over the curbs and bumpy line as well.
There are roll bars over the top of the door, but you don't, I think, have that sort of X shape behind the driver that a lot of the other ones have. We're side by side here as Bartusch got in a little bit wide, and now he's going to go down the inside here, but around the outside could be the place to go for Adrian Duke, and then he'll cross over in front. Trevor Hearn having tried to strike back at Brodie Shepherd, and it hasn't worked.
And now he's going to cover the inside, and that's going to check up Duke yet again. Provides a little bit of breathing room once again for Brodie Shepherd. One thing that Trevor Hearn's doing very well is carrying the brake very deep into the corner and running the opposition out of room to go around the outside. Has been his defence of choice thus far.
You're going to set the passenger fan differently to the driver fan.
So again, all of that's functional, by the way, inside the race car. All of that does work. So yes, you can, if it's a little bit of a cold day, yes, you can put the heater on, if you feel like
drive mode. My other fun onboard thing is that the BMW M2 CS Racing has a BMW remote central locking key fob taped to the center console. Oh, there's that other part of the roll bar around inside. His move. And Adrian Duke's going to go 3 wide, trying to get around the outside of the Brodie Shepherd battle with Trevor Hearn. This is what the end of this F1 season's going to look like. McLaren versus McLaren shoving each other off.
Oh, wow, yeah, you're not wrong. Runs him wide. Dan Bartusch gets an opportunity to get back down the inside, and he's going to try and take it, and he'll slam the door closed on that one. So Bartush looked like he was just going to be watching along and be passenger this one. No, not anymore, and Duke's going to immediately fire it back down the inside because he can't wait. He's going to get the elbows out. There'll be 4 more laps left to run when they cross the start-finish line. Picks that pocket, but the move isn't done. Slides on the curb as well. He'll have to cover when they get down here to 13. Gets the job done once more. He's got the pace, but getting it done consistently is creating issues for Adrian Duke. And how about the fighting from Hernan Shepherd?
Yeah, and suddenly Warren Henry joins the party as well. So if this was for the race win, perhaps it'd be 2% more exciting than it is. Tim Harris is nearly 10 seconds clear of the field. He's put in another fastest lap of the race to lower that benchmark. And everyone in this sort of mid-pack does sort of 148s, but Warren Henry with a 147.1, that lets him get a little bit closer. Then Wheeler, the other powered by coffee car, closes back in on the battle somewhat as well. Elliot Dees gained 5 positions on this race to bring that BMW into 8th position, and Michael Cullen, Tony Baker, this Mercedes has had top 5 pace, but Holcroft goes across the line.
Chops the nose, unfortunately, for Tony Baker. Nothing he could have done. He was just trying to get that car off the road. And unfortunately, Holcroft dealt some damage to both himself and mistake, unfortunately for him, and done some damage to Baker. And this is starting to become a McLaren Cup right here, because these guys are still throwing down at each other, and Trevor Hearn's got to make a decision. Does he go for aggression or does he go for defense? It's been defense thus far.
They do have in Europe, don't they? There's a one-make McLaren Cup with the slightly modified GT4 spec cars.
I'm sure there would be if there isn't.
I mean, Europe's the place for that sort of thing. A place where your Ferrari Challenge actually gets big grids. Lamborghini Super Trofeo exists and gets big grids. There's room for a lot of one-make stuff. China used to have a one-make Audi R8 GT3 Cup for a little bit there. Going to be 3 laps to go coming out the final corner. Tim Harris' lead is now 10 seconds on Brodie Shepherd.
He's comfortable. He's not even looking back. He's not thinking about these guys at all. He's going to pop out at the end of this race and go, gee, that was all relatively sedentary. Went on back further, and he's missed the entire party that these guys have been having. Somebody, I reckon, has thrown a cob loaf out there for first prize in the battle for second.
That'd be great. So here, Adrian Duke thinking about how he can pass Trevor Hearn. So you've got this sweeping left-hander, but then you need to straighten up in the braking zone for the next corner. Duke keeps his position, dives in relatively deep there, pushes out a tiny bit wide, but takes 3rd place from Trevor Hearn.
Big thing was putting Trevor Hearn on the marbles on the outside when they got down to turn 5. As soon as he was there, you felt that was pretty much all he needed to do to get the job done. He's lifted a lot. Now Hearn is going to cover off Dan Bartush, who senses an opportunity, got great drive as they head down the back straight off of 8 this here to 9. And he'll hang on to it once more, does Trevor Hearn.
It's not these guys' fault it's a McLaren Cup, because we had BMWs collide, Mercedes collide, Mercedes hit Aston Martin off the road. Here's one of the Aston Martins. So Ira Felberg's up in 12th after everything that's happened for everyone else. John Snell, Dan Stevens and Michael Holdcroft closing in on him. Oh, Snell actually not quicker on the last lap. It's Stevens who was 2 seconds quicker than Felberg and Snell last lap. So that Mercedes of Stevens pretty quick. Quick enough to look down the inside, you betcha, of the final corner, but in a little bit tight, compromises your run onto the front straight, which we know can be so critical. Peeking in with these guys, so that's Stevens on the right and Snell on the left. Snell looks like he could get a bit of flight simulator in as well on that thing. Stevens is trying to go round the outside of turn 3. Now, we've seen that if you get to the inside of sweeping turn 5 and the braking zone at turn 6, you can make a pass there. We saw that just a couple of laps ago, but he loses the overlap through this sweeping left turn and then shapes to try to dive down the inside, and it's not quite going to work. He's compromised himself too much.
I think the big thing was, did you actually see John Snell completely cross his arms over as he went there in through 6? So he was a lot more steering lock on board, and now Dan Stevens is actually going to look to cover because Michael Holdcroft's going to have a go at him from behind. Here comes the late braking Aston. He gets down the inside. They will rub panels, and out goes Dan Stevens. That just looked like tyre-on-tyre contact, unfortunately.
It wasn't a bit of return serve, was it?
Maybe.
Race leader's going to start the final lap of the race, race 2 of Ozicar Tin Top Cup GT4s from Circuit de Navarra. Well, it's probably Brodie Shepherd and Adrian Duke who are going to join him on the podium, but in what order? Because Duke sets a new fastest lap of the race. He's flying, and if he's going to make a move, he's only got 1 lap left to do it. It's not going to be down the inside of turn 3. He's going to do this crossover through 3, and we've seen him make the pass in 6 before. I think that's what he's aiming for right now.
Well, he actually touched up Brodie Shepherd on the way out of the corner because he got good drive off. Now he's going to show the nose, and Shepherd's either going to send it deep here or think about the next corner. Is he going to? Yeah, he is going to drift a touch wide. Duke's just going to look for the overlap. Can't quite find it. Deep in when they get the 6 as well. Brodie Shepherd drive out the other side. Thinks about it at 7. Does he have to cover? No cover right here. They'll both use all the runoff area open to them as they get to 8. The swing back out of 8. And the run down the back straightaway, and Shepherd might have covered enough because that is a reasonable margin between the 2 cars, and the best opportunities are now behind them.
There's a couple of opportunities still. This is one because Shepherd runs wide. Duke tries to get his nose underneath. There's a few tight corners here where you can try to switch up and get to the inside or try to take a late apex, get a decent run down the next straight. Duke's going to keep an incredible amount of pressure on Brodie Shepherd. 2 real big braking zones left to go in this lap. And Shepherd will try to hold him off for the moment. Tim Harris will come out of the final corner and look to sweep Navarra in Ozicar Tin Top Cup.
Yeah, well, he gets race number 2 signed, sealed and delivered. And out of the final corner, unfortunately, Shepherd is able to cover off Adrian Duke. So it's going to be 2 second places from 2 races for Brodie Shepherd. First and a third for Adrian Duke. And 5th and a win for Timothy Harris. He'll be happy with that one. Oh, we're going to get rotated at the final corner as well. Vernie, Baker, and Elliot D.
Yeah, so Vernie has been blinking just a little bit, and then he's ended up tangled with Elliot D, who was the best placed non-McLaren for a little bit there. Unfortunately, it's been very, very costly for him. He's going to lose one more too. Oh, attempted redress happening on the front straight. Vernie's going very slowly, and I think... Okay. I don't know what's going on there. He hasn't run out of fuel, has he?
Interesting one for
Incredibly
Tony Baker.
Bizarre at the end there.
Well, Tony Baker stopped and waited for him, actually. So I think Tony Baker's actually redressed that one, is what he's doing there.
So we're trying to unwind. We couldn't look away from that battle from 2nd and 3rd on the final lap. And elsewhere, Snell got a bit too much curb and stopped short of the barrier and then drove into it anyway. Vernie's trying to defend off behind, and then he tags and spins D around. But amongst all of that, a few of the other drivers were reporting that blinking from Vernie getting worse.
Yeah. So what's going on here is a couple different things. I think Tony Baker's trying to redress Vernie, and Vernie's got into D as well.
Baker thinks he's dominoed this, but actually Vernie's already done it, and then Baker gets into the both of them. So Tony Baker thinks he's probably, domino affected that, Vernie into D, but it was, Vernie had a bit of culpability in it as well.
So that's Tony Baker waiting to redress to Vernie. Vernie's waiting to redress to Elliot D, is what's going on. So that's why these guys are all crawling, because they're all going, well, we've lost all these spots anyway, let's do the right thing.
We've got the complicated 3-stage redress going on. Oh gosh, for what? John Snell's like, I had nothing to do with this, I'm innocent.
He picks up three free places, you can't complain about that. If they're gonna play silly boy redresses, he's gonna sweep through and pick up a lot of them.
Okay. So yeah, plenty happening on that final lap, plenty happening through all of the racing today at Navarra. We'll get to the results of race 2 and then see if any of our drivers want to come by. So Tim Harris, winner in race 2, Brodie Shepherd in second with Adrian Duke in third, Trevor Hearn and Dan Bartush. Then Warren Henry, Ben Wheeler, Michael Cullen, Ira Felberg and Michael Handcroft as the top 10. And then behind that was all of the excitement. Dan Stevens in 11th, Milton Borton in 12th. Those two guys snuck around the spun cars in the final corner, and then John Snell got them on the straight towards the checkered flag. Then Elliot D, Nathan Vernie, Tony Baker and Jamie Stovall wanted to race with us, but perhaps for technical issues or some other reason wasn't able to do so.
So unfortunate for Jamie Stovall. Not sure what's quite gone on there. But that was at least a way to wrap up the night.
Yeah, excitement. Let's get to third place, Adrian Duke. Adrian, good battle in the McLaren Cup there.
Yeah, it was full on. A really fun race. Frustrating on that second one, but fun nonetheless. Pretty happy with my pace, and to still get a P3 after getting knocked back so many spots, I can't complain.
So we've had some longer races from this last time out at Jerez with the pit stop and the question of the weather, and then I think the previous round was also a longer race. Here you've got to do the tyre warm up twice, and it looks like that's a real challenge for these GT4 cars. Especially I like my car pretty loose, so first 2 laps are really really scary, quite dangerous. It's really easy to turn the car around, but having that extra oversteer really pays off later on in the race, I find. The first race, I actually was 1 litre short, so I had to fuel save, which was, to have like a first place and then have the pace on Brodie and then have to manage fuel. I was like, oh my god, what have I done? It all worked out. Well, fantastic. And you're in the McLaren, a lot of McLarens, but you've got free choice to swap the car if you need to. You were emotionally tied to the McLaren, or might we see another vehicle powered by coffee?
At the start of the season, I hadn't driven any of the GT4s. I just chose McLaren because of Oscar Piastri and just that enthusiasm for him winning in F1. And I find I get my driving style adjusts to a car, so I won't be changing unless there's like a severe difference in performance.
Righto, well, good luck. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yes, thank you.
Scott, second place was Brodie Shepherd, and he had some good battles across both the races.
Yeah, Brodie Shepherd, that was a tough one. Elbows were out in both of the races there. Interesting battles with Trevor Hearn. I mean, blows swap, but to be perfectly honest, run out to the edge of the track limits, you managed to cut your way through, get to second spot, and then Adrian Duke running you down at the very end of that second race as well. That seemed like a lot of fun in that McLaren tonight.
second race was definitely a lot of fun. It was definitely elbows out racing, lots of panel banging between the two cars, and then happened to get quite a nice move on him to get the switch back underneath and get past, and then just had to hold on, which I just, after all that racing, I forgot how to drive for a little bit there, so it was a bit rough. But definitely happy to come away with 2 second places in these 2 races, with the first one being a bit calmer and just trying to catch Adrian there, and the second one being a lot more entertaining.
In terms of the racing, I mean, the Navarra speed circuit, the corners are all very, very long, very switchback, and you had to use all the runoff area as well to maximise it. And then the marbles were getting involved in it. But I think one of the big things is, talk to us a little bit about the tyre warm-up phase, because we saw a lot of issues with cars in those opening laps in both the races tonight.
Yeah, the first race definitely, I wasn't expecting how little grip to have, so I kind of warmed them up a bit more. Just that first lap, you had nothing. As soon as you tried to put the power down, you just either rotated or just kind of got bogged down for a little bit. So that first lap, you definitely had to be quite safe, which is a bit different, but the track was quite good. It's just very difficult to overtake because it's all very fast and flowing corners it's one corner after another, which is fun to drive when you're by yourself, but as soon as you're trying to get past a car, it makes it quite difficult because you've got to try and push them offline or try and find your way through in a bit of an odd spot.
Mate, the championship's been incredibly close between all of you guys. Unfortunately, Jamie Stovall with technical issues here tonight, not necessarily gone his way, but between the front few of you guys, there's just been about nothing in it. You know, last time out we saw it at Jerez, the tyres went away a touch of the McLaren. Is there something that you're sort of planning for one of the rounds that you've got in the next couple of weeks that you think you might just be able to get the leg up on the other guys?
Definitely looking to try and find something else. I think I've qualified second behind Adrian all 3 of the rounds, so need to find that little bit more just to try and get in front of him here, because he's definitely quite quick in that McLaren and just seems to have the pace on all of it. That little bit more pace than everyone else at the moment. But yeah, definitely we'll be looking at the next couple of rounds to see if maybe a different car can work a little bit better and just give that little bit of an edge up, especially maybe in the longer race with the tyre drop off of the McLaren might be a good spot, but just have to see what happens.
Mate, and finally, floor is all yours. Do you have any thank yous and shout outs that you'd like to hand out?
Thank you to you guys for putting on all this, and Ira for putting on some great racing. This was definitely a lot of fun to race these cars around, and just can't wait for the next round.
Mate, congratulations, Brody, on second place, the only driver to finish in both the same position from both races here tonight, mate. So the next one's way further down in Michael Cullen in 8th place. Other than that, everyone swapped places. So, mate, the only consistent driver in that top 5. Congratulations.
Cheers, I'll happily take that.
Enjoy, brother. Take a break and enjoy the celebrations.
Cheers, guys.
And finally, I think Dave has got Mr. Tim Harris on standby, winner of race number 2, and a bit of a chat about the McLaren and cold tyres once again, I think.
Yeah, qualified 3rd, finished race 1 5th, started race 2 in 5th, won the race, and a bit happening across both races for everyone.
Yeah, look, at the start of that second race, I didn't actually really focus too much. I think I was still laughing from the last lap of the first race, actually. So, and lo and behold, some HKS goodness went my way, and I was thinking this could have gone 1 or 2 ways, and unfortunately for Adrian and Brody, it went my way. But anyway, I'll take it. I think it's my first Ozicar victory or race win, so I'm going to crack a can and celebrate.
Yeah, it'd be well deserved. And you had the fastest lap of the race for most of the race until Adrian Duke found just a little bit of clean air to take it away from you. But Navarra, new circuit, free circuit, high curbs. What did you find out about this track? Have you done much racing here before?
No, I haven't, and I've never raced the McLaren either, so it was quite a little learning curve. But it's an amazingly technical track, I thought, but perhaps not the best racetrack. It might have been entertaining in parts, but yeah, pretty tough tough racetrack, but really good fun just to try and hot lap and do your fastest lap, because it's one of the, I think like most of the MotoGP circuits that are on the service now, just technical, and you gotta think about your driving and your inputs, and trying to carry that sort of corner speed and rotation seems to be the biggest killer on most of them. So interesting track. Don't know if I'll want to run it a lot more, but glad I've learnt it, and it'll make watching Moto 2 and Moto 3 a lot more enjoyable, I think, now that I've learnt it.
That's a good plan. I did notice between 2 and 3 there's the motorcycle penalty lap loop there, like Jerez has around the outside of the final corner, and it looks like one of the biggest penalty lap loops I've ever seen.
Yeah, I tried that line in testing a couple of times, and it's the slow way around, I think. So it definitely is a penalty, but I think tonight we saw there were some bigger penalties out there otherwise.
Yeah, got to keep it all in one piece. Congrats on the race win, and this is the kind of thing I'd normally ask John Merritt, but if you were in Echuca and you needed to put a tow bar on a Hilux, where would you go?
I'd probably go to Alexis Dealer in Melbourne and see what the future holds. And I'll probably, while I was in Melbourne, stop at Pulse Tuning and see if I can get a bit of a tickle up on my go-kart engine, because old Cedo does the best work around.
Solid plan, and we'll catch you around in 2 weeks at Barcelona. Woohoo! Don't take the long lap there.
Roger.
Great to hear from Tim Harris. He's pretty excited about that one. And did you hear that can cracking? I think we could hear it partway through.
Yeah, I think he's already mid-celebration. Well, that is going to be everything tonight from the Ozicar Tin Cup from Circuit de Navarra. That was a whole lot of fun, and on to another one of the GP circuits as well. It's Barcelona, Catalunya as well. Next Monday night from 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time as well, Dave. Longest straight there at Barcelona, Catalunya as well, so potentially more fun times for the McLarens when they get on the loud pedal and start to pull away down the main straight.
Lots of options of layout there as well at Barcelona. Fingers crossed for historic, which has become modern again. That's what F1 race now. Everything old is new again. We'll look forward to it there in more Spanish sun for Ozicar Tin Top Cup. You'll see it here on SimSpeed TV, so make sure you're following. David Haynes with Scott Rankin, Daniel Yeaman from Navarra saying we'll see you for Ozicar Tin Top Cup at Barcelona in 2 weeks' time.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.